Professional jealousy isn't something we talk a lot about. It's not been something that I've talked a lot about in my other job, but I think professional jealousy is something that a lot of us experience. I remember one of my first experiences feeling jealous of someone because of their profession was when I started at university. And I remember just sitting in class looking at these professors and thinking to myself, that is an awesome job. It was just so cool to see them up in front of the classroom talking about a subject that they knew so well, that they knew so intimately, and trying to bring forth that knowledge to the students who were in that classroom. And so almost every one of my professors in my undergraduate and even in my master's degree, I looked at with a certain feeling of jealousy because I wanted to be the one up in front of the classroom, and it was because I wanted to be an expert in a topic that I loved and cared about more than anything else. And in the US, I think professional jealousy happens off and on depending on the kind of field that you're in and the people you work with. Americans are never really hesitant to talk about their accomplishments, and this really contrasts with my experience here in Norway, because in Norway, talking about your accomplishments is really seen in a negative light. I have a video about janteloven, which is one of these value systems that they hold here in Norway, which basically says that you should not stand out from the crowd, which is really the opposite of how I was raised. So when I came to Norway, it really took a lot of adjustment to kind of figure out how I can talk about what I was doing, how I can talk about my accomplishments without kind of raising the hair on the back of the neck of my colleagues. And let's just say I failed at that miserably. Because every time I excitedly brought up something that I was able to accomplish or something that I achieved, a lot of my Norwegian colleagues kind of shuffled their feet and shied away. But I don't really think of that as professional jealousy. It's really just coming up against a different value system than I was raised. Where professional jealousy really started to affect me and my career was when someone filed an anonymous complaint attacking my reputation as a researcher and as a teacher and telling me in no uncertain words that I wasn't very good for Norway. And I kind of blew it off because, hey, it was an anonymous complaint and sure, people are going to get jealous of someone who has accomplished a lot and likes to talk about it. And I just figured it was a passive-aggressive way of trying to take me down. But it hadn't yet gotten to full-fledged sabotage, which is something I've also faced when people in positions of power start using the power to limit and prevent me from achieving my professional goals. And this is such a frustrating experience because there's nothing you can do in the face of that kind of conflict. In the best case scenarios, the most I could hope for is just to stay quiet, stay under the radar, and move on. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're not given the tools to cope with and to deal with feelings of professional jealousy. And so I imagine for a lot of people, it is frustrating seeing someone like me talk about my experiences, to talk about my accomplishments. I imagine it angers some of them to see someone like me rub so strongly against their cultural values. And for me, it's completely deflating to not be able to stand up in my own truth and talk about the work that I'm doing that I care about more than anything. And so even though I started my career understanding what it is to feel professional jealousy against my teachers and other academics in my field, it was only once I had achieved recognition in my field did I realize what it felt to be on the opposite end of that relationship. And I guess the moral of the story is that professional jealousy is a very normal thing. But what we do with those feelings, how we process those feelings really matters. And if your reactions to feeling of jealousy is to take down someone else in your field, then maybe think what it would be like if you were the one being taken down. And find a more positive, more constructive way of going about your work.